How's it going, guys? It is David Claydon from KZR Racing once again, and we are finally back on F1 23, my team Camaro, for round number 7 today at the Monaco Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the last episode, do feel free to check out my channel. All the playlists for the other episodes will be there. I apologise for the delay, guys. I have been pretty busy with some personal stuff going on in the background, but I am back now. I will be back to uploading as much as I can as often as possible. So we're just going to go through all the bits of admin in the build up to the Monaco Grand Prix. Not long to do, so we've only got 2 days for the G-Force training for our second driver. We haven't really got much money to play with, but we'll see what we can do for R&D. I'm not too sure what we've got on at the moment, which is we have a front and rear downforce. We have rear downforce and a DRS packet on the aerodynamic front, and a chassis weight reduction on that front. So not too sure what we can do with the powertrain side of things. We've got stuff for the engine power and whatnot. So I think the next thing to do will be to go for the ERS, which is only a minor upgrade. Unfortunately, it's not going to come in until the Canadian Grand Prix, so we're going to have to wait a little while for it, because we're not too bad on the engine power side of things. But with how things are going, you have to take into consideration that the vehicle performance comparison isn't necessarily all catered to the speed and power of the engine. It's very different all across the board, especially with the recent with a couple of the patches that have come out with in regards to driver ratings and car performance. So we're going to do that for the ERS package, and that's pretty much, all things considered, all pretty good. So we're going to go through the last few bits and skip ahead, make sure everything goes on. We've also got Spec 1 on one of the chassis parts for the facility. I can't remember which one I did now because it's been a while, but we've now got build time and quality control there. So what are we looking at now? We've only got 1.6 mil, so I can't really do much, and I also have to take into consideration I've got to have enough money for my teammates' contract renewal halfway through the season. So it's going to be one of the it's going to be trying to get my words out. It's going to be nip and tuck with how we handle our finances at the moment. Resource points is we're not actually doing too bad on, considering we're earning less, but with the money side of things, we have to be a little bit more careful. But as for now, we head into the qualifying for the Monaco Grand Prix. We skipped straight to the end of Q3. Q1 and Q2 were pretty formalities for us, because we had pretty good all-round practice and whatnot with the car setup and everything. I just slapped on max downforce and up the ride height so I can handle the curbs a little bit better. But all in all, the general feeling on Monaco on this game compared to F1 22, infinitely better. I wasn't afraid to actually touch the throttle pedal this time, as opposed to F1 22 that would just spin the rear wheels up the moment I even thought about accelerating out of the corner. But we got a little bit, as you can see, we got a little bit sketchy through the last couple of corners here at out of Rascas and whatnot, just trying to get the power down there a little bit too eagerly. But we're still good enough for P7. Roughly what we were doing in practice and whatnot. So everything seems to be okay for the race. We're just ahead of the McLaren of Lando Norris and just on the tail of the top big teams. But for now, let's go ahead into the Grand Prix.
Formula One returns to Monte Carlo once again today, home to the world-famous Monte Carlo Casino that first opened in 1863. And of course, a certain road race first held in 1929. There's no greater an occasion, no more valuable a win than the Monaco Grand Prix. The prestigious Circuit de Monaco, then, is not all that dissimilar today to the layout that made its debut almost a century ago. It's 2 miles and 19 corners through the streets of Monte Carlo. And although the average lap speed of around 93 miles per hour is the lowest of the season, the tiny margins for error make it the natural habitat of the safety car. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Davidson, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Bottas, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Joe, Gasly, Sargent, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Drugovich, Hulkenberg, and Nick de Vries. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Now, can I get your take on Max Verstappen? That was a great podium in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
On the grid, no grid penalties affecting us at the top end. We're not going to change too much on the strategy. We're going to stick with the one stop soft to mediums. We're just going to take a little bit of the fuel out to about 1.2 laps because I don't know what the fuel load is going to be like around Monaco. But the tyre wear, again as well, I'm not too sure because the tyre wear seemed pretty heavy in practice, but those were on the lighter fuel loads, so I don't know what heavier fuel loads are going to be like. If we need to alter the strategy and switch to a one stop on the hard tyres, that's the way we're going to go. But as you can see, the AI I'm not too sure about the tyre wear as well. We've got some starting on mediums, some starting on hards as well. Max Verstappen being one of them. Both Red Bulls actually were starting on the hard tyres, but this is going to be it's going to be interesting actually. We're starting on the soft tyres because I want to try and get a decent run off the line to try and attack one of the cars in front of us, either Sainz or Perez, to see try and hold a track position for later on in the race. But I don't know. I honestly don't know what the tyre wear and the fuel load is going to be like around Monaco. So we're going to be we're pretty much just going to play this one by ear. Most of the other circuits we've got a good idea of what the tyre wear and that will be, but Monaco is a bit of an oddball. Sometimes working a two-stop on this circuit can be the way to go if you've got enough on the overtake. But now we're going to go to 5 red lights for the Monaco Grand Prix. 5 red lights are out, and we are underway. Perez gets a good start off the line ahead of us, as do we, and we both close in on Sainz. I've got nowhere to go. I've got to back out of that because there was no way I was going to go in the middle into turn 1 at Monaco. So we're going to sit back and watch as Perez fights Carlos Sainz up the hill towards Casino Square as we go through the left and into the right. Sainz has got the inside line, so he's going to try and force Perez well out wide there. Just a little jink to the left to make you think twice about it as we make a dive bomb on Perez and Sainz. Sainz, however, manages to hold his line, and that forces us to slot back in through the Lowe's hairpin into P6 on the road. We managed to get ahead of one of the big guys ahead of us, so now we're going to skip ways ahead to lap 7. Not much happened aside from the fact that my engineer decided to call me in early for a change to a 2-stop. And I actually inclined to agree with that because my tyre wear, for whatever reason, despite looking only 30% in that, was horrendous. I was losing grip and sliding everywhere in those last 2 laps leading up to this pit stop. And I couldn't understand why. I didn't think, I haven't driven aggressively or anything of that nature, so I didn't think twice. I didn't think twice about it. But my engineer Mark said we're going to switch to a 2-stop, and I agree with him. And this drops us right into the back of the grid. We come out behind Hulkenberg, who just gets ahead of us. But we have such a good drive coming out of the pit lane, and with his worn soft tyres, we just make an easy pass back up into P19 ahead of Nico Hulkenberg. A little bit squirrely on the exit of Casino Square, but now we're going to move on to the end of the next lap as we try and get the power down again to try and catch up to Yuki Tsunoda. We both have DRS, but we're going to feint to the left, go to the right, send it down the inside, and we're going to make that overtake into Sandoval emphatically. A collision warning there with Tsunoda as we make contact with him, but now we're going to follow and chase our teammate up the hill as we go through Casino Square and then on down towards the Mirabeau. Hopefully he's not going to make this too hard for us. He does give us a little bit of room, not a lot though, and we have to really make this dive bomb count because I don't want to get held up behind cars on this two-stop strategy. I've now got to really attack and go for the moves when they matter. So now we cut on to the end of lap 9, going on to lap 10, sorry. We're going to go round the outside at Sandoval, round Lance Stroll. He really did not... he really was not willing to give us the room there. I've had problems with Stroll's AI on all these games that I've played with him, and he really is not interested in giving me any sort of space for making these moves. But now we're going to follow Logan Sargent into this tight section. We think about the move into lows, but think better of it in the end. We don't want to end up damaging our car at this point in the race, especially as we're on this two-stop. We've got to make the moves, but we don't want to make any rash decisions, so we're going to wait as we go through the tunnel. We're pretty much pushing him through the tunnel as we go round into the braking zone for the Nouvelle chicane down the inside. Really late move, just managed to get it stopped in time, keep it within the track limits, and we are up into P15. We are making these moves count when they matter, and now we're going to push on and we're going to catch up to the Alpine of Pierre Gasly. Still trying to get that right in my mind, and we get a magnificent drive out of Portier through the tunnel, and we're going to get Gasly before we get to the chicane this time. We were still a little bit late on the brakes to make sure we get that move done, but yeah, that's I'm glad I made this two-stop now because Gasly was so slow out going into the tunnel on those soft tyres compared to these mediums. They're working a treat round here. I can really push these tyres so much harder. And now onto the next lap. On lap 12, we're going to catch up to Guan Yu Zhou, and we're going to make another daring move around the outside of Saint-Devote. Keep it in, go down to second gear. Keep it nice and respectful between me and Zhou, but he doesn't have the grip that I do. And we now pull away up into the P11, and you can see there I started getting some mad understeer halfway through the stint, and there we can see it. I did pick up damage to the floor, so fortunately I didn't really feel it too badly, but it was definitely noticeable when I really was like pushing harder in clean air for some reason. When I got behind another car, because I was going a little bit slower to try and keep pace with them, it didn't really matter so much. And now we're going to make a move around the outside of Bottas into the Mirabeau. That was a really lovely move for me. Bottas gave us the room. He defended cleanly to the inside, so he went around the outside and made it work. But for me, when the tyres started to get worn in clean air, I really started to notice the understeer, and that was when I thought, well, I better check, and that was when I noticed the floor damage. And now we come on to lap 14. We're going to get the jump on both Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz as they make their one and only stops in this race, but we're stopping again. We already know that, so I'm not really racing these guys. So we're going to push on and do what we can, and by the end of lap 16, which is what we're going to be coming on to soon, the tyre wear started to catch up and the understeer was starting to become more pronounced with the floor damage. So we were scheduled to go to lap 18, but with the way the tyre wear was, I thought, with the floor damage, I thought, no, I've got to make this stop now. Get onto a fresh set of tyres as soon as possible before I lose time in the grand scheme of things. So we're going to make the stop now at the end of lap 16, going on to 17. For a second set of medium tyres, so I'm not too sure where I'm going to come out. I should come out round the tail end of the points, I hope. If not, I'm going to be just outside the top 10. But the pit stop's good. The pit crew did a real good job there, and we are actually going to come out in P8. It looks like we've got Oscar Piastri coming up behind us, but we are going to get to turn 1, that shorter route to turn 1, before he can catch us, and we are still in the points. So this is actually really good. This two-stop, Mark suggested to us, has really saved our bacon with this floor damage that we have. So, like I said, the floor doesn't actually matter too much around Monaco because you can really push as hard as you want, and that comes into its own here, especially with Monaco being a driver's circuit. We're going to follow this lap in its entirety here, because this was actually my fastest. I actually set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and I would keep it to the end of the race. And I really, really, this is the first time in a long time, because I've raced on the pad for so long. And it was only last year that I got my wheel to start racing this career mode with a wheel, and racing a wheel around Monaco was just so much more better and so much more satisfying as well. I can't tell you how enjoyable it was to actually be able to drive Monaco the way I wanted it to, on a wheel rather than a controller. I couldn't do it too much on F122 because of the really lackluster handling model on that game, but in F123 I was just so happy to drive Monaco. For the first time in a long while, I was actually really glad to be racing at Monaco. I didn't feel so restricted. I could actually drive the car how I wanted to and really attack the course with the car. So it was really, really satisfying. You can see purple first sector, green middle sector, and we're going to come out of La Rascasse. We're going to go to the line. We're going to set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on lap 18, and we will keep that to the end of the race, especially as we aim to reel in Lando Norris, and we do eventually do it on lap 24. We are right on his gearbox now. He's on these warm mediums. I'm on a fresher set of mediums, so I've got all the grip here. But as I sized him up for a move into Mirabeau, there was yellow flags because Guan Yu Zhou had retired with a mechanical problem, so I was really geared up for the move there, but then that really stumped my momentum because I had to slow myself down. And as I go through this slow section to Portier, a little bit of oversteer there just to really curb any momentum I had, and I got to work it back up to catch back up to Norris again as we go on to the start of lap 25. We're going to make a late move into Saint-Devote, give him enough room, just enough room on the exit, and that is us into P7 where we started, and we are going to hold that for the remaining 3 laps to the end of the race as we cut now onto the last lap. Lewis Hamilton wins the Monaco Grand Prix, and despite the run that Charles Leclerc has been on, he has been denied a win at Monaco again, but he still gets a podium. I think he gets P2 on the road here, so he'll still maintain his lead in the championship over Max Verstappen as we come through Rascasse for the final time onto the main straight. And after a very satisfying race at Monaco, I was able to make up all those overtakes, and we are going to come across the line for P7, best of the rest. Very, very happy with this race here, and I can't really express how happy I am that we saved that race with a 2-stop. Mark really came in clutch for me there as we get driver of the day as well.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
While Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend, it's great to see them up on that podium once again.
So there we have it there. Confirmation. Lewis Hamilton wins the Monaco Grand Prix ahead of Charles Leclerc. Second place. He gets a podium at his home Grand Prix. And George Russell rounds out the podium for Mercedes. Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez will round out the top 5 there. And in the driver's standings, as you can see, Charles Leclerc will increase his lead over Max Verstappen, who will fall back into the clutches, only 3 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Sergio Perez and George Russell round out the top 5 in the championship. Fernando Alonso still holding on to P6 ahead of his compatriot Carlos Sainz. Ourselves in P8. P9 will go to Lando Norris, and that is Esteban Ocon in the Alpine, rounding out the top 10 in the championship so far for the drivers. And in the constructors as well, Ferrari still have their lead in the constructors ahead of Red Bull, Mercedes, Aston Martin, and ourselves. We get ahead of Alpine. We move off equal points thanks to us scoring bigger than Alpine in this race by about 2 points. I think it was we scored more than, but yeah, you may have noticed as well, there were no replay cameras for this race, guys. Unfortunately, I completely forgot about them. I wanted to get back into the rhythm of filming. I completely forgot about the replay cameras. Otherwise, I would have showed you all those replays of the overtakes off board and whatnot. But for now, guys, that is going to round out a rather successful Monaco Grand Prix. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode. Do feel free to leave a like and share this video around and leave a comment as well. It really helps. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of those videos. I'm David Claydon of KZR Racing, and I will see you next time for the Spanish Grand Prix. Goodbye.